Well, welcome back to Cable 14's Generation Z. And as I promised you right before the break, after the break, now we are going to be learning about the story behind your product. Now, oftentimes when people are starting a business, they want to have an inspiration that they can share with the world as to why they started it. And I always think it kind of grabs your customers and it grabs your audience's attention when you have that inspirational story. So right now, we're here with Ifabiyi about his inspirational story behind his clothing line. So thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. You?
I'm great, thank you. So you have a clothing design business, and as soon as I saw the hoodies, I was just like, okay, there's definitely a story behind this logo you have right here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your business and the meaning behind this logo?
Okay, so the logo, to me, it started off as something to signify what I've had to overcome in my life.
Yes.
So growing up, maybe like grade 6, 7 is when things really started to kick off. And that was when I had to deal with more my self-confidence and overcoming the struggles of having a low self-confidence at that point. So as things kind of got worse and worse in that sense, I was really like caught up in my thoughts, and my thoughts were overcoming my whole body, essentially. Once I was able to get into like grade 9 or 10, I did a lot of fixing, like a lot of thinking, and I almost had to just cut everything out.
Yes.
All the negatives had to be cut out. And I slowly started to grow into a more confident person, and I was able to take on different tasks with more confidence. I was able to lead a team, soccer, basketball, do all that stuff, right?
Awesome.
So yeah, that's essentially, the design came from silencing your mind, silencing your thoughts, to achieve greatness.
Yeah, and I really do believe that the story behind your product and your logo here is so inspiring, because I'm not just going to say in today's day and age, but oftentimes with youth, just the struggle with self-confidence, it's great. It's a really great problem. It's a horrible problem. And I really do believe if you have something that you're able to grasp onto and just express yourself through, it's awesome.
Oh, for sure.
So is this your way of expressing yourself through your designs?
Yes. Initially, that's what it started as. And it's a mix of that. And I used to dabble into the arts when I was a bit younger as well, grade 8 or 9. At the time period, though, the main struggle I had was it took me way too long to create any piece, essentially.
Yes.
So there'd be art projects, and we have a deadline like 2-3 weeks. It'd take me like a month or 2.
Yeah.
So
yeah, oh, me too,
exactly.
honestly.
It'd be good quality, but like the fact that it took so long was kind of, it was bad for my sense. Like I couldn't really see art as a future career or anything. I just didn't see that, just because of I can't meet the deadlines, right? So the one thing I really missed of like going through without high school afterwards was I couldn't do art anymore, essentially. So this was my way of bringing that back. So it doesn't really matter how long it takes me to create the design necessarily, or come up with certain things. I can work with different people, different artists, and we can meet those deadlines with my visions. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're kind of your own boss as an entrepreneur, you feel a lot more relaxed having your own deadlines, right?
Definitely.
Just so you're able to freely be creative and feel as if you're not rushed, right?
Exactly.
So when did you start this business and how did it all come about?
Okay, so this started in January as a project. It was more just, let's make this happen, see where it goes. And then I got to working on the designs with my girlfriend. And yeah, so we just started designing on paper. And then we looked at researching how to get that onto the computer. And then that took me around like 4 or 5 hours just trying to figure out how to transfer this design into the computer. This is not how the original design looked. It looked a lot different than this. There was a brain on here actually as well.
Okay.
But through a lot of Photoshop and Lightroom editing, we eventually got it to this. And this is the final design, and that's how it was created.
And I love the final design, honestly. I think if there's anything to portray the image and the message you're trying to come across with Silence Clothing, this is definitely the best one. So ever since January is when you started, was that exactly when you started, and ever since then you've been going, or what was the process like with that?
Well, I've dabbled into more marketing for different clothing lines, like more small ones, just kind of underground. They're getting their first step, and then I had a Twitter account that was kind of big, so they'd come to me for marketing advice, and I'd give them, a couple shout outs here and there, and then, I liked working with those people, seeing them grow, and eventually I wanted to be a part of that circle, not just the marketing guy everyone doesn't know, but like the person that's actually in there as well. So that's where that started, and then afterwards with this clothing line, like the project became fairly successful, and I found it to be more successful, not from the initial sales. Like the sales were nice, but there was a part where the last sale was some guy named Felly. So this Felly guy, he's a rapper in California.
Wow.
Yeah, so
wow, that is awesome.
He bought that pink hoodie, and then the next thing I know, I recognized the name first. I was like, wait, is this the rapper? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I look on Instagram a couple weeks later, he's wearing it in a concert.
Oh my
and,
goodness.
I was able to reach out to him afterwards too, just to, you know, say thank you for all that. But I realized there's potential in this brand at that point, so summer company came around and I decided to apply and you know, take it to the next step.
Exactly, and I think that's so great. Congratulations for having a famous person buy one of your products. I really think that's a great success, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But with owning a business, you're going to have a lot of success, but you're also going to have a lot of challenges. So what are the challenges that you've been overcoming and what have you faced?
Well, the challenge, this has been planned out more so like 3 years back. So I was waiting for this moment 3 years ago. The main thing that I couldn't do 3 years ago was I had a clothing line that I tried to start but didn't really go anywhere because there's no marketing platform. So the biggest challenge was developing the marketing platform. So I went from literally 0 followers on Twitter, and I figured out a way to kind of make everything work out. And now it's like I have 65,000 followers, right? So with that platform, you don't have to worry about asking somebody for marketing that's going to overcharge you, like $130 for a campaign. Instead, you're the one that is going to be the guy that markets and also has your own stuff that is being marketed as well to the people.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So that's definitely great. Honestly, I think that's a success in itself with the followers that you've been able to obtain on social media and everything. And I think it's really great with social media how you're able to get your message out through that, because it reaches so many different people from all over the world, famous especially, but also people in your community too, right?
Definitely.
So for today's episode, we're focusing on adding your specialty, and it's quite clear that you've added your specialty. So what advice would you give to startup companies about adding your originality to your business?
I'd say do a lot of research, like a whole lot of research on who is your competition, what are they making, what are they creating, what is an original idea? Because sometimes people think it's an original idea, but everybody else is doing the same thing.
Yes.
So you really have to, you really have to know your market, know like the competitors, exactly what they're doing, and you know, try to differentiate yourself through that. You know, please implement your ideas afterwards.
Yeah, and that's great advice, honestly, and I really do hope that people will take that advice because it's so true and it will help them with growing their business. So thank you so much for joining us today and telling us all about your incredible inspirational business, Silence Clothing. And if you want more information about his business, Silence Clothing, we have the full page board if you want to get your paper and pen out so you're able to contact him. He has his website if you'd like to look at some more of his designs at www.slncd.com. So you better stay with us, because after the break you're going to want to see where we went prior to our filming today to see how you can turn your passion into a business. So stick with us.